Today on The Cut, a conviction has been made and a body was found in the case of a missing college student. What this means for the case and the victim's family.
And rockets were seen in the skies over Israel. What this means for the citizens of Israel.
And the Supreme Court made a controversial decision regarding some BLM protests. What this means for the right to protest. The Cut starts right now.
Hello and welcome to
Hello and welcome to the Cut Network. I'm Alana Goodman.
And I'm Abby Jurek.
After 19-year-old Sade Robinson didn't show up for her shift at a Wisconsin pizza restaurant, her coworkers immediately suspected something was wrong. Before her scheduled shift on April 2nd, Robinson planned a first date with 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson. He is now being faced with homicide, mutilation of a corpse, and arson in connection to her death. According to manager Justin Romeo, Robinson was, quote, very outgoing. She would talk to everybody here. She was always there to lighten the mood, end quote. Not showing up for her shift was unlikely of her, which immediately raised worry. The restaurant closed for 3 days while the search for Robinson went on. The morning of her date with Anderson, her vehicle was discovered on fire. Later the same day, police were called to the scene of a gruesome discovery, a human leg on the beach in Warnemount Park in the Milwaukee suburb of Cudahy, which appeared to be sawn off at the hip. On April 2nd, police identified more remains, including a human foot and flesh. On Friday, Wisconsin authorities charged Anderson, leaving him with a potential life in prison. Robinson, originally from Mississippi, was about to graduate from Milwaukee Area Technical College and pursue a career in criminal justice. A GoFundMe has been started for her memorial service. The description states, quote, the pain of losing Sadie has left a void in her hearts of her family, especially her grieving mother and little sister, along with other relatives, friends, and the entire community who loved and supported her, end quote. The organizer for the GoFundMe aims to provide her with a dignified farewell she deserves.
Many major locations were shut down by national protests. Here's reporter Brandon Muth to tell us more about these protests. Brandon?
Thank you, Abby. On Monday, pro-Palestine protesters shut down San Francisco's iconic Golden Gate Bridge, along with other roads in major cities across the United States, reported CNN. Demonstrators protesting the U.S. supporting Israel and the war in Gaza disrupted traffic for several hours and blocked travelers from getting to major airports. On San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge, protesters held signs, including one that read, quote, stop the world from Gaza, while other protesters chained themselves to vehicles. California Highway Patrol Chief Don Goodbrand said regarding the protests, quote, it was an orchestrated event that they put forth. They blocked 3 separate locations on freeways. They prevented law enforcement, paramedics, ambulances from getting to their points of destination, end quote. In Chicago and Seattle, roads to 2 major U.S. airports also became the scene of protests. Protesters stopped traffic from moving on a road to Terminal 1 at Chicago's O'Hare Airport during the morning rush. A similar instance happened as protesters appeared to block the road leading to the Seattle-Tacoma Airport, with several vehicles and demonstrators held a sign reading, our taxes are funding genocide. People trying to catch their flights ended up getting out of the vehicle and walking to their terminals. Overall, more than 250 people were arrested or taken into custody across the U.S. in association with the protest. As of Monday, President Joe Biden continues to remain focused on Israel's security, reaching a ceasefire in Gaza, freeing the hostages taken by Hamas, and preventing the conflict from spreading. For the Cut Network, I'm Brandon Muth.
Thank you, Brandon. More than 300 drones and missiles hurtled towards Israel through Iraq and Jordanian airspace on Saturday night. This comes as an act of retaliation from Iran for Israel's killing of a senior military leader. Military experts say the drones and missiles that hurtled through Iraqi and Jordanian airspace Saturday night seem to be designed to create maximum drama and minimal damage. The launch resulted in a lot of bang but little destruction on the ground. Few of Iran's drones and missiles found their intended targets, and an accuracy-level defense officials say they were more than likely by design. Two members of the Islamic Revolution Guards said Iran planned the attacks in a way that would send a warning to Israel without sparking a war. General Joseph L. Votel, former leader of the U.S. military's Central Command, said, quote, "I think Iran is very concerned about what comes next, if they were effective. The early notification of what they were doing seems a little interesting to me," end quote. It is unknown if this situation will continue to escalate or dissolve.
The Supreme Court effectively abolished the right to mass protest in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. This comes after the court decided not to hear McKesson versus Doe. The decision leaves in place a lower court decision that effectively eliminated the right to organize a mass protest. If neglected, the protest organizer faces potential financial consequences if a single attendee at a mass protest commits an illegal act. Though this outcome has a potential of being temporary, the court did not embrace the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit's decision, attacking the First Amendment right to protest, but did not reverse it either. We will continue to provide updates on this unraveling case.
As of noon on Tuesday, 6 jurors were chosen for former President Donald Trump's hush money trial. Trump is facing 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. The 6 jurors were selected in short order as a selection process that was expected to take perhaps 2 weeks or more quickly escalated after a midday break. The jurors have not been identified yet, and this process will continue on throughout these next few weeks. Jury selection began on Monday and will eventually impanel a group of 12 New Yorkers who will ultimately decide whether to convict Mr. Trump in his first criminal trial.
A government agency is now rebranding itself. Here's Cut reporter Nick Carmia to tell us why they made this decision. Nick?
Thank you. Homeland Security Investigations, known as HSI, the principal investigative division of the Department of Homeland Security, is seeking to rebrand itself away from Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement, otherwise known as ICE. HSI is responsible for investigating crimes such as terrorism, drug smuggling, human trafficking, money laundering, with over 6,000 agents and 93 offices abroad. But according to the Washington Post, due to HSI's association with ICE, its parent agency, quote, officials say the contentious politics of immigration and enforcement have undercut its efforts to combat transnational crime. HSI investigators have detailed, quote, an ICE stigma, where agents trying to work with police departments and public officials on cases are avoided due to sanctuary city policies that protect immigrant populations from deportation. Efforts to separate HSI from ICE have occurred since at least 2018, but in December 2021, a group of HSI agents sent an internal report to DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, citing, quote, 77 instances in which the agency's affiliation with ICE has hurt relations with state and local law enforcement, colleges and universities, alongside community groups, making it difficult to recruit new agents and build trust with victims of crime. According to ICE's acting director, Patrick Letlider, HSI's rebrand will allow their investigators to better work, quote, without the undue toxicity that in some places comes with that ICE moniker. HSI will still remain a branch of ICE, but will have its own website starting next week, removing all ICE-affiliated emblems and symbols from its online presence. For the Cut Network, I'm Nick Carmia.
Thank you, Nick. With Tesla deliveries going down, the company is being forced to make layoffs. Now here's reporter Maria Loiza to tell us more about how employees found out.
Thank you. Tesla is planning to lay off more than 10% of their global workforce this year. However, the reason for this cutback is not for certain. In a memo sent on April 15th from Elon Musk, he announced that at least 14,000 employees will be laid off this year. In the memo, Musk said, quote, "It is extremely important to look at every aspect of the company for cost reductions and increasing productivity," end quote. Simultaneously, a senior vice president, Drew Baglino, resigned from the company after 18 years. These cutbacks are likely due to the decreasing sales of Tesla cars, as Tesla experienced their first annual decline in vehicle deliveries since the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. In recent years, there has also been an increase in competition Tesla has against other companies. One of these companies includes Chinese-based Xiaomi, which claims it would start selling electric cars at a far lower price than Tesla. With a 10% decrease in global employees and an over 5% decrease in stock value, it is uncertain what's going to happen to Tesla next. For the Cut Network, I'm Maria Loiza.
Thank you, Maria. Last Monday, newly drafted WNBA players gathered in New York. Here's Kate Nakamura to tell us more about the future of the WNBA. Kate?
Thank you. On Monday, the Women's National Basketball Association welcomed 36 new players during the 2024 draft. Hot off the heels of March Madness, some of the NCAA's top players gathered at the Brooklyn Academy of Music in New York to find out where the next chapter of their career will be taking them. The Indiana Fever took the #1 pick of the night with Caitlin Clark, a guard from the University of Iowa. Clark had a record-breaking college career, becoming the all-time leading scorer in college basketball history for both women and men. She also averaged 28.4 points and 8.2 assists during her time in Iowa, leading the NCAA in those two categories for 2 years in a row. The Los Angeles Sparks had the second pick of the draft with Cameron Brink, a forward from Stanford University. Brink was recently named the Pac-12's Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. The Chicago Sky also had some notable picks during the first round. With the #3 pick, they took Camila Cardoso, a center from the 2024 NCAA National Champions, the University of South Carolina. They also took Louisiana State University's Angel Reese with the #7 pick. Reese was notably named the NCAA tournament's most outstanding player last year. Here in the Valley of the Sun, we can expect 2 new faces to join the Phoenix Mercury, UCLA's Charisma Osborne and the University of Nebraska's Jazz Shelley. Both players are guards and were selected with the 25th and 29th picks, respectively. For the Cut Network, I'm Kate Nakamura.
Thanks, Kate. We'll make sure to check out some Mercury games this next season. 2 days after he died of prostate cancer at age 76, O.J. Simpson's will was filed in Clark County, Nevada on April 12th. Simpson named his longtime lawyer, Malcolm Laverne, as the executor of his estate and his son, Justin, as his successor. Simpson requested his property and his remains would be attached to the will itself, along with a Simpson Trust Fund. After never paying the Goldman family the $33.5 million he was held to by a civil suit for the alleged killing of Ronald L. Goldman, Laverne is fighting to ensure the Goldman family gets none of Simpson's money. Laverne said, quote, "It's my hope that the Goldmans get zero, nothing," end quote. O.J. Simpson died nearly $144 million total in debt to the Goldman family as the legal battle continues.
This past Sunday, dozens of golden retriever owners bought their dogs to Boston Common for an event held to honor and remember Spencer, the official marathon dog. Spencer unfortunately had multiple fights with cancer and died on February 17, 2023 at the age of 13. Although Spencer couldn't make it to his year's race, his life inspired many people to take a stand against canine cancer. The event included a, quote, Golden Strong, quote, walk and a meet and greet with Boston Marathon runners. 20% of the proceeds were donated to Spencer's fundraiser for canine cancer research, along with a statue of Spencer near his usual spot next to the marathon route. I think this is a wonderful cause, Abby.
Yeah, it's such an amazing way to honor Spencer. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Cut Network.
Have a good night.